Today's video, we'll be looking at the Macintosh II CI.
We review old technology from games to old PCs, and don't forget the toys. Yeah, ancient electronics, we cover it all.
So today we are looking at another Apple product. This is the Apple Macintosh II from the very late 80s and early 90s. I really wanted a machine like this to fit into a specific slot in my collection. I just really wanted like a 68K powered Macintosh. I do have a few compact Macs. I have, of course, the SE30, which I really liked, but I wanted something that was a little bit more desktop-ish. I have kind of an affinity for desktops, towers. I'm not so much into the compact computers and laptops and things like that. So although the SE30 is a really cool machine, and even the the upgraded color Mac I have that I did a video on a long time ago, very cool, powerful machines, I really wanted something that was more like a desktop machine. And I really wanted something that had a Motorola 68K processor in there. I think the Macintosh II CI, and there's many models of the Macintosh II beyond the regular Macintosh II. There's a lot of different models. There's the CI, the SI, there's several of them. But in my opinion, the CI is probably one of the best ones that's actually affordable. There is one that I would like to have a little bit more than this one, and it is the Macintosh II FX. And that's the one that Apple said was wicked fast. It has a 40 megahertz 6830 processor in it, and they're just really expensive and very hard to find. In my experience, the 2CI, though, isn't that hard to come across. Obviously, it's been over 30 years since they produced these things, but the 2CI was kind of a workhorse. They're still fairly available for a computer of this age, although availability is going down and prices are going up. But I really wanted to snag this guy. So we're just going to take a look at this guy, then we're going to flip around, take a look at the back, and then we're going to look inside of it. Of course, Macintosh II CI uses this sort of case design that was very popular with Macintoshes at the time. I believe it was called the Snow White case design. Alright, so if we start there, we have two little buttons on the front. You might think that is a power button and a reset button, and you would only be half right. It's actually a reset button and an interrupt button. Over here, we have a single 1.44 megabyte floppy drive. It is a auto ejector, so you have to eject the floppy disk through software, although I believe there is a little point right here where you could put a pin in and it will eject the disk, but that's typical of Apple's over-engineering. And then I think we have a power LED light. I think it's right there, but it could be there, but I think it's this one right there for the power LED. Now, at least I think it's a power LED. But as you can see, this case is sort of yellowed. It could use a nice retro brighting, and especially right here you can see it looks like someone had a sticker here. When I first got this, I got a little excited. I thought maybe there was an accelerator in there or something, but there isn't. Maybe there was at one time and it was removed, but it definitely looks like there was a sticker here and it was removed at some point. So you can see where the rest of the case has yellowed and the area under the sticker has not. That's pretty common. So let's turn this guy around and take a look at the back. So taking a look at the back of this case, you can see the discoloration kind of continues here. The top isn't so bad. I have actually two of these. One was dead. I probably grabbed this cover of the case off that guy, and that's probably why the cover, or the top cover, I guess you'd call it cover, isn't as yellowed as the rest of the case. So we'll start over here at the left. Of course, we have a standard 3-prong power connector, and then we have one of these deals right here. So if you have a monitor, you could plug the monitor in here, and then that means you only need to use up one outlet for the computer and the monitor. Right here is the I guess you want to call it the manual power switch. Generally with these Macintoshes, they're kind of meant to be powered on by a power key on the keyboard. And I believe that is true with this model as well. But there is a power button right here. So starting down here and across, we have a connector for an external floppy drive. Then this is a connector for a external SCSI device. So that could be like a CD-ROM drive or an external hard drive or something along those lines. Right here we have video, so it does have built-in video, and this is the video out. It's not a standard VGA connection because of course it's an Apple product, so it's not going to be a standard. But you could use a converter and use a regular VGA monitor easily enough. This one is from a ViewSonic. If you open it up, there's dip switches, and there's a little guide on the dip switches. But it will allow you to use the video connector on this machine and then just connect it to a regular VGA monitor. So just like that, it's pretty easy. I've never had this thing not work. Pretty easy. Usually that's all it takes to do the trick. Yeah, you got this stupid little dongle sticking out, but it's not so bad. So next to the built-in video, we have the Apple printer and modem, I believe, ports. They look very weird. They kind of look like S-video ports, but the good thing about these Macintosh, they have little pictures, so you know pretty much immediately what they are. Printer, little telephone for modem. Right here we have the audio out, so you can connect a speaker. And then we have two ADB ports, Apple Desktop Bus ports. So you can connect various things like keyboard and mouse. Up here we have 3 expansion slots. Again, reason I like kind of bigger desktop builds because I like to tinker and I like the ability to expand them. Obviously not as much as a PC where you're usually getting 8 slots. Just have 3. But again, remember with these machines we've got a lot built in. We don't really need a lot of expansion boards, but it's nice to have the option. I'm missing the little plastic cover for that guy there. I still have to track one down so I don't have this hole there. Other than that, on the back though, we just have this vent here, and then I think this is for like a lock to lock this to your desk. I see a little chain right here, so I believe that's what this is for here, that you can get some kind of little chain and like connect this to your desk, I guess, to make it harder for someone to steal, I suppose. So like a lot of Apple products and Macintoshes from this era, and I guess Apple IIs as well, this is an all sort of toolless case made of plastic. Over time, these cases have become very brittle. I basically bring this up anytime I do a video on old Apple or Macintosh. This one isn't too bad, but you do have to be a little bit careful. It just uses these 2 simple tabs, and you just kind of untab it, and then the case or the lid just pops right off. If you look on the side of the case, you have these curious little slots, and you might not know what these are for, or just think they're really lame sort of vent slots, but I believe these are for little rubber feet, I believe, that you can connect on here, because this case, it was also possible to stand it vertically as opposed to horizontally, so it's kind of a tower and a desktop case. Actually, if we look on the underside of this, I believe these are the little rubber feet. I believe these can be detached and then put where those little slots are, and then you can actually sit it like this, so then it's in its kind of vertical orientation, if you so choose to. So I'm not sure 100% what keyboard and mouse was sold with the Macintosh IIci, but this is what I have available, so I'm going to use them. And they look like they kind of fit the bill for the time period. So this is what I will be using for mouse and keyboard. Alright, so here we are with our Macintosh IIci with the top taken off the case. So right here with the power supply, so that vent on the back was for the power supply fan. These are kind of notorious for dying. A lot of these Macs from this era I come across don't work, and usually it is because of dead power supplies. And it's not as easy as you think it would be, at least it wasn't for me, to just go on eBay and say put in Macintosh IIci power supply, because although you will find them, they will be pretty expensive. I kind of wish there was an aftermarket power supply for these Mac 2s like there is for the Apple II. Maybe there is, I just haven't looked hard enough lately, but usually these don't work, at least in my experience. I believe the 2CI, and probably a lot of Macs from this era, use different brands of power supplies. This one is the GE, the one from GE, and I believe these are the better ones that fail less often. This one works, so yeah, if you have a GE one, I believe that is one of the better ones, or maybe I've got it backwards and it's actually one of the worst ones and I just got really lucky with this one. Not sure, but they did use different power supplies. So right here is the hard drive. This machine, when I got it, it did not come with a hard drive, so I added this. This is a 540 megabyte SCSI drive. It works fine. It works well enough, but in this video, I might end up upgrading this to like an SD card hard drive solution. I'm heavily considering doing that. So, especially with the size limitation, I could hunt down a bigger SCSI drive. I'm sure I have one kicking around somewhere here, but you know, I might just go with an SD card for this because I do have one of those SCSI to SD adapters sitting around. So I think I might do that in the video. Underneath this guy, there is the floppy drive down here. It's not too hard to get out. It does require a tool, though. You do have to have kind of a long screwdriver. There is a screw down there, and you unscrew it, and then, you know, there's the whole tabs and stuff like that. So you got to be careful you don't bust anything, but it does come out and slide out. So here we are with the cards removed. I also want to point out here that this hard drive, even though it's only 540 megabytes, this is still much bigger than what likely came with this machine. I believe this came with either a 40 or an 80 megabyte hard drive, so 540 is still quite an upgrade from what was stock on this machine. I was told by the previous owner that this machine had been recapped in the not so distant past, which is good because, again, like a lot of these old Macintoshes from the 90s, especially early 90s, you tend to get the capacitors leaking a lot, and it will kind of soak the board, and it will cause issues. So it's good that this was recapped. If the previous owner was honest with me, I think they were. But I'm sure as we look over this board, I know a lot of my viewers have eagle eyes, and they'll tell me if they spot weirdness with this board, and it doesn't look like it was recapped. But it has worked for me just fine. So it would be nice that if it actually was recapped, but it does work for me thus far, so I am happy about that. Okay, so after thinking about it, I actually am going to have to remove this because there's a lot of important stuff under here, and I don't know, it's kind of pointless to do a review on this computer, or a look over, whatever you want to call it, without actually showing some of the vital things under here. So I am going to remove this. I just hope none of the plastic snaps. This Mac's actually pretty sturdy as far as the plastic goes. It doesn't seem to be as much of a problem as it is on other Macs and Apple products and things of this vintage. This thing lifts up. There's a little like latch under here. You have to get and push forward, and then this should just lift up. And then this, there's a screw down there, and then I think this tab, and then it should pull out and up. Of course, disconnecting the SCSI cable and the floppy cable. And that's about it. Okay, so right here, I believe right here should or used to go like a hard drive activity light, maybe. But this hard drive didn't have like the cable with the light on it, so unfortunately I do not have one. So I don't know, maybe I'll rectify that at a future date. But again, I think I might replace this anyways, so we'll see. Alright, so I am going to pull this stuff out, and then we'll show you with the motherboard. Okay, so here is our power supply. We've got the fan on the back, and when it slides down, it just connects directly into the motherboard right here through this connector. And then, one second, I will show you the sled or the slide. So this is what comes out with the hard drive, and then we do have the 1.44 megabyte floppy drive. I think on Macs they call them super drives. We have one on the bottom, and yeah, the floppy uses a weird-ish connector. I don't know if that's proprietary or not, probably because it's Apple. Standard SCSI, 50-pin SCSI. Alright, so let's take a look at that motherboard now with everything out of the way. Alright, so here is the motherboard fully exposed. Let's take a look at it. We'll start right here. So this is where the power supply was, and it slides down and it connects right into there directly to the motherboard. Like I said, the previous owner said this board was recapped. I don't know how long ago that was. I don't see any leakage or anything like that, at least as far as my old man eyes can see. It looks fine, it works fine, but that's just what I was told by the previous owner. And right here by the power supply we have the CPU, and it is soldered onto the motherboard. And our CPU is a Motorola 68030 running at 25 megahertz. It is a 32-bit CPU, and it's running on a 32-bit data path, or the motherboard is also 32-bit. So you would get some motherboards in certain models of Macs around this time that maybe had a 32-bit CPU but a 16-bit motherboard. So you were losing some of the power of that CPU. But this is fully 32-bit CPU, 32-bit motherboard. So that is good. This is why this was one of the faster Macintoshes of the time. Again, I think only maybe the FX with its 40 megahertz CPU was faster at the time. I know for a short period of time this was the fastest Mac available. So, you know, I believe there are a few other Macs that use this CPU, but they're actually slower because I believe the motherboard is 16-bit. Don't quote me on that. I believe that's the case with some models. 50-pin SCSI. Here is the floppy connector. Power connector right here. This disconnects. I just left it connected with your Molex, so this would connect to your, well, most likely this would connect to your hard drive. Not sure what this is. Right here we have the ROM. So here's the system ROM right here, these 4 chips. This is the PRAM battery, or if you're more familiar with IBM compatibles, it's basically the CMOS battery. You definitely want to replace that. I have replaced mine with a newer one. Sometimes these explode and destroy the motherboard, so careful of that. And if they're dead but they haven't exploded, but Macs tend to do weird things when that battery is dead, so you really want to try to replace that if you can. LED light, system LED. Alright, so back here, we've got a lot of various chips here. I don't know exactly what these do. Some are just like glue logic chips. I'm sure some of them are controllers for the SCSI, the floppy controllers. One of these is probably for the built-in video, at least like the video DAC, things like that. I believe the max video resolution the onboard video can do is 480 by 640 at 8-bit. Another thing is with this machine, the onboard video does take from the main system memory, which will gobble up your memory and can cause issues. And that's a reason why you probably want to get a video card for the Mac IIci to kind of, you know, retain all your memory, and you don't have the video chip acting as a vampire stealing a memory. We've got some crystal oscillators there, although those are not for the CPU. That, I believe it's right there, this 50 megahertz oscillator right there. I think that's the one for the CPU that's right there. Right here, this is a big feature of this machine. This is a processor direct slot. So this is for a cache card. Generally, what was meant to go here is a cache card. So adding L2 cache to this machine can really speed it up noticeably. So I actually have one of these cache cards. It will run without a cache card installed here, but you will lose performance. So it is advisable, if you want to max this thing out and get more performance, that you get a cache card. We'll talk about the cache card in a minute, but you can put other things here too. A lot of other companies made accelerators that would go here. So you could do like CPU accelerators and things like that. I've also seen third-party cache cards that just had more cache or faster cache. I've seen cache cards / CPU, FPU accelerator cards. So there's a wide variety of cards you can put here as far as like cache and CPU accelerators go. Good luck finding them at a decent price these days, though. I tried. I thought it would be cool to have one for this video. They're just too expensive. So maybe one day, when you can find them, even when they pop up on eBay and sites like that. Right here, this is for a ROM card. I don't know, what would you call it? ROM module. So you have this jumper here. Mine is removed because I do have a ROM module that I put in here. And basically you put a ROM module in here, pull this jumper, and it kind of disables these, and then you're running on whatever ROM is installed here. And I should also point out about the ROMs on this machine. It is 32-bit clean. So that is an issue with certain machines like the SE30, where it has a dirty ROM, where you have to do a little bit of like fiddling around if you have a program or software that needs a clean 32-bit system. This one is 32-bit clean. 3 new bus slots. I'm not a Mac person, so you know, I know that doesn't seem like a lot if you're a PC guy, but I think for a Mac that is a decent expandability. Because of the video issue we talked about earlier, you do want to get a video card. I have one. I'll show you in a minute, but I don't know what else you would put in these slots as far as Macs go. Any of you Mac guys out there, if you have any suggestions for any new bus cards to install here, I'm not going to do networking with this thing, so I don't really need like a fancy networking card. So I don't know, other than the video card, I don't know what to put in the other 2 new bus slots. I have no idea. So one of these chips is also sound. I don't know which one, but obviously there's some built-in sound with the Mac II CI. Again, not sure what that is. Probably more glue logic. Not sure. And then lastly, let's talk about, well, not lastly. We've got we've got some chips here. What is that? So right here between the new bus slots and the optional ROM slot and the PDS slot, processor direct slot, we have these 2 chips. It says bus transceivers. I don't really know what those do, but they're labeled bus transceivers. So I don't know, some kind of logic chips. Not really sure. And then right here we do have a built-in FPU chip. So there is a math coprocessor soldered onto the motherboard here. That is a 6882. I believe that is also running at 25 megahertz. So we do get a built-in math coprocessor. So this is a pretty good setup. You have decent expandability. You have the option to add cache. You've got a fast for the time CPU, and you even have a built-in math coprocessor. So overall, I really do like this Macintosh II. Lastly, let's talk about the system memory, or RAM. Like most Macintoshes, pretty much always, this machine can support a ludicrous amount of memory for the time. So generally this came with, I believe, like 1 to 4 megabytes of memory, but it can be expanded to a full 128 megabytes. Now keep in mind this was the early 90s, and I mean, I just did a video not long ago about a high-end 1997 machine, and in that machine from 1997, 128 megabytes would be considered like what the fancy show-off rich kid would have had in his machine. It was a huge amount of memory for 1997, so you could imagine for 1990, 1991, it was just ludicrous as far as memory goes. Now, I don't think anyone had that much memory back then in these machines, but it was interesting that it could support that much. Now, of course, I have maxed this machine out, so we have the full 128 megabytes. Obviously, software from the time especially is not going to take advantage of all that memory. That's just, again, I'll use the word again, ludicrous for the early 90s as far as memory goes, but here at Ancient Electronics, I like to max things out when I can. And I didn't pay anywhere near the amount I would have paid for this amount of memory in the early 90s as I did now. So that is basically the motherboard of the Macintosh IIci. I do quite like this machine. So the first thing I wanted to show you about this machine, and this, I guess you could consider this an upgrade. So this is the ROM module. This is from BMAU. This is the same, I believe this is the exact same module that I bought, and this isn't the same module, but this is the same type of module that I installed in my SE30. This one's really neat. It's just, This is just a really neat ROM. It adds a lot of neat features. And the one cool thing also, other than all the utilities on here and stuff, that I think it's System 7 that you can boot straight into with this. So you don't even need to have a hard drive, and you can at least get into some kind of operating system with this guy installed. So when I can, yeah, I always like to upgrade the ROM to one of these guys here. It's just a nice little upgrade, and it's not too expensive. And again, if your hard drive fails or anything like that, at least it gives you an option to kind of just boot into an operating system in ROM. And next is the L2 cache card. So this is the official cache card from Apple. This is only 32K of L2 cache, but from my research, just adding this little card can speed your Macintosh IIci by up to 25%. So it is quite an upgrade. They did make, as I said earlier, third-party cards that I believe even went up to like 128K of L2 cache, although I don't know how much more speed you would get from that. The one I see most often, and again the one from Apple, and the default one is this 32K cache card, but yeah, very easy to install and very nice increase in speed. These used to be pretty cheap, although lately, again, like many vintage items and computer items, I've seen the price jump up on these. They used to be found pretty common for, maybe $30 to $50 or less. Now they seem to be a little bit above that, so you might want to snag one now if you can. So here is the video card that I have installed in this machine. There's nothing particularly special. There's no reason I picked this card. I know very little about Macintosh video cards. They don't have cool names and stuff like PC versions. They usually have like really boring names. Like this is the Precision Color from Radius. Pretty boring. Again, with Macintoshes, they were really built as almost like appliances where they just had video built in, and that's usually what you were expected to use. I don't really think video upgrades, like video cards, were nearly as big as they were with IBM compatible, so I know very little about them. I did ask on like Mac forums about this card. It is better than the built-in video, and it does solve that problem where if I'm not using the built-in video, this isn't going to be grabbing memory from my main system memory. So this is a decent upgrade. There is an 8-bit and I think a 24-bit version. I believe this is the 8-bit version. It looks, I'm not sure how much memory is on here, but I know it can be expanded. But good luck to me finding the specific memory for this. I believe that is like zip format type memory, so it's probably pretty hard to find. But other than that, yeah, it seems like a decent card. I was told it can do like quick draw acceleration and things like that. But definitely a upgrade from the built-in video. If any of you know anything about this card or any suggestions for a video card for this machine in general, let me know so I can keep an eye out for things in the future. Alright, so I'm just kind of set up on the... Okay, so I'm just kind of set up on the floor here, and I'm connected using that special little adapter. And I just want to see, before I put the top on it, not that it's much effort to take on and off, but I just want to see if it works. So I'm going to hit the power button on the keyboard now. Okay, that's good. Okay, we got a video signal. Sorry for the light. I know with these Macs it takes a minute. Alright, there we go. So that's good. Yep. So right now it's going to boot into the ROM card, the OS on the ROM card, because I believe I missed the key press. I think when it's loading up I have to hit a certain key and it will boot to the hard drive. But no, maybe not. No, maybe, okay, okay, it is definitely, it's booting to the hard drive. I think I got it backwards. It will boot to the hard drive, but if I hit a certain key on booting up, it will boot to the OS on the ROM. So that's good. That's better. So yeah, it looks like it is working just fine. Alright, so yeah, I have OS 7 or System 7.5 on here. That's kind of what I want on here. I want a machine that just has like System 7. I have other machines, faster machines that will run like OS 8. So System 7 sounds about right for what I want on this machine. I think there is an update of like 7.6. I'll have to look that up. So there is the total memory, so it is seeing all of the memory I have installed, and there is the Mac hard drive right there. So yeah, and we got a picture, so the video card is working, and yeah, everything is looks good. And I went into the memory. This is always something you should check. I wanted to make sure everything is set up good. It is seeing the cache. It says cache size 32K. That's correct. Always on. Virtual memory off. I have more than enough system memory installed, and when virtual memory is on, in my experience, it's caused problems. And then make sure you have 32-bit addressing turned on. So some amount of time has passed since I did the first parts of that video to now. As some of you might be able to tell, I am currently in the new apartment where all that other footage was done at the old apartment on the good old bed workbench that we all miss so much. Anyways, as promised, I think I will try and update this hard drive. So right now, well, we've got a 540 meg SCSI drive. It's worked fine. I've had no issues with it. I think we've got system 7 point something on there, but I do have this extra SCSI to SD adapter, so I believe that's a 2 gigabyte SD card, so that should be a significant increase in space, and it should be a little faster, and of course quieter. You know, I'm not 100% of a purist, but I do like the sound of the drives. I do like to use original drives whenever I can, but you know, I have to admit, it's not so much convenience, but, you know, these things are very old now, and it's only a matter of time before it dies, and I would like to use this until it dies, and I probably will. I'll throw it in another machine for sure, but I do kind of intend for this Macintosh IIci to kind of be like my main classic Mac, maybe. So I want to put something in there that's just a little bit more reliable and has a little bit more space. So I'm going to get that in there and set it up, and hopefully it's a smooth operation. So I am running into a problem. I keep getting this unable to mount volume. So I've tried formatting the SD card in different ways, like exFAT and FAT32 and things. And yes, it is. I'm using the this is the Apple HD SE version, whatever, but it is patched, or at least I believe it's patched. Here, see, it says patched. So this is, right now I'm running the operating system that's on that, the ROM there, the ROMinator. So I went into there, and that's where it's loading up from the ROM, and this program's already on there, and like it says, it does say it's patched. And I did try running this program from like a floppy disk earlier, and it didn't even see the SD card. So this will actually see it, but it just it won't like initialize it. So as you guys all know, my expertise is not in Apple and Macintosh products, so I don't know. I might have to just go back to the spinning platter for now. I'm not sure. Now, I suspect it might be the actual SD card. It's kind of a generic card, I believe, and it is 2 gigabytes, but I don't think I have anything smaller. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do here. Well, I don't know. It is PNY. I mean, I think they're a pretty reputable brand name SD card. So, yeah, it's just not working. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, it looks like it was the SD card. So I put in a SanDisk card, and it detected it, and it initialized and mounted it right away. Now the smallest one I had was 16 gigabytes, and if you look at it, I can open it up here, and I believe that is coming up as just short of 2 gigabytes. I believe that's the limit of this machine, or what it can see, or at least the OS, what it can see. I guess I can partition it into multiple hard drives, but I don't really know how to do that on a Mac at the moment, so I guess I'll just go with, you know, the 2 gigabyte hard drive. That's still, what, like 3 times larger than the spinning disk SCSI drive I had in here prior. So yeah, there's another benefit of that, the Rominator. You can just, if you want to, well, it just makes initializing hard drives on a Mac so much easier. You already have the patched, you know, file or hard drive system or whatever you want to call it on there. So it's especially useful if you don't have another Mac to do all kind of like file transfers and stuff like that. It just makes it really easy. I guess just make sure you have the right SD cards. I don't know, SanDisk seems to work. SanDisk SD cards and compact flash cards, for whatever reason, just seem to be kind of like the de facto card to use for these classic machines. It's just more often than not it works, whereas other brands are like iffy. So I guess, I mean, it's there. Now it's just the matter of putting a like an operating system on it if I don't want to use this operating system on the Rominator. So yeah, I did end up reinstalling System 7.5 on the SD card. I'm pretty sure there is like at least there's a 7.5.3 or something like that. I only had the discs for 7.5 available. I think I can install a little update later to get everything updated as far as System 7 goes. Pretty smooth process all in all. I actually do like the Mac install process, at least for the System 7, where it shows the disks, the floppy disks, and it kind of shows your progress. It's kind of nice. It's something to look at. It's better, in my opinion, than the MS-DOS install process or Windows 3.1, where you just get that blue screen and the yellow line. Alright, so as we can see here, I have fit the Mac IIci into this little corner here. I kind of had this stand. I used to have like my MIDI tower here, but I recently put in this little shelf, so I've moved it up. So I had this kind of open space here, and I thought it was perfect for the little Mac IIci. I mean, it's in between the 8088 Tandy 1000 SX and the 286 right here. So, you know, maybe not the perfect chronological lineup of things. But well, maybe it could be. But but I mean, it fits. It's little and it fits there, so it works for me. Monitor, I actually just came across this very recently. This was given to me by a friend. This is a Samsung. It is a SyncMaster 4NE, and I think this monitor is just about perfect for this Mac. It is not an Apple branded monitor. I was looking for an actual Apple monitor that would actually go with this, maybe even like the original, but I think this one works fine. It's big enough where, you know, it's a nice, I don't know if this is like a 13 or 14 inch screen. It's big enough that you can really, you know, enjoy it, but it's not so big that it's crushing the Mac or it's just, you know, overwhelmingly ridiculous big. I think it's a really good size for this computer in this kind of era. Monitor has a really nice image, and there are some things about it. I mean, one, this thing syncs to just about anything. It doesn't sync to 15 kilohertz, but basically a lot of other weird like resolutions this thing will do. And the one cool thing about this monitor, every other VGA monitor I had to use this little adapter. This is, you know, the Apple sort of VGA connector to a standard VGA connector. This one's a little fancy. It opens up and it has switches and stuff. And I had to use this, and I had a much simpler NEC adapter. And it didn't have switches, and none of my monitors would work with that, but this one does. It works perfect, and yeah, I like this monitor. It's really nice. One thing to note about this monitor, it does have a weird connector on the back. It has a 9-pin VGA connector, not the standard. I think the standard is 15 pins. So you need a special cable to go from this monitor to a VGA port, because, like I said, 9-pin. It's almost like a CGA or EGA connector on the back of this. It is not. Do not use an EGA cable or a CGA cable, because I believe it's wired differently. Even though it will physically fit, it is wired differently, I believe. So you're going to either have to find like a specific cable for this. Fortunately, I had it. Or you're going to have to make your own cable. But yeah, it's a weird 9-pin VGA. Not sure why they went with that. Another nice thing about this monitor is it actually does have a lot of ways to do adjustments right here on the front of the monitor. Sometimes you don't see that on a lot of monitors, or you have to go into service menus or like different menus on the screen. But it's nice that you have options right here, easy access. Alright, let's fire this guy up. I do have, what was it, OS 7.5 on here, as we saw earlier. I am using this CD drive down here, so I was able to get a CD drive to work. I did have this guy that I wanted to use as actual, like, an official Apple CD drive. Sorry for the mess. Again, I'm still getting this room together. Anyways, this is a caddy type CD drive, and in the move, I don't know where I put my CD caddies, so I couldn't use this. But luckily I had this Club Mac kind of generic SCSI CD drive, external bay. This is not an Apple drive, it is a Sony drive. I do like how the power button's on the front of this one, or on this guy it's in the back, so you have to reach back there and get the power switch. This guy, you don't have to do that, and it's much easier to use and change the CD drive. Though it's not an Apple drive, so certain earlier OSs have issues with, you know, Apple CD drives, or, well, not being an Apple CD drive. But thankfully, because of the Rominator, I was able to go into the OS on the ROM, OS, or System 7 on ROM, and then I was able to transfer over the newer, updated CD driver onto the hard drive with System 7.5 into the extensions folder. So I updated the CD driver so it works with this now. So here we are, loading up. Welcome to Macintosh. And yeah, I like this monitor. I think it works really well. It looks really good with this machine. Obviously I don't have like a keyboard, so usually I have that guy. Once all this stuff is cleared out here, got a lot of stuff right here. Of course, this is going to be gone, and I'll have room to move this chair over, and I can have the little keyboard holder here, and I can just place the keyboard here, so it will work. But yeah, so we've got OS 7.5 running right now, and it's working really nicely. Okay, so hopefully that's not too blurry for you, but yeah, I do have to say I like this monitor. It looks really nice and sharp. I'm not going to poke around here too much, but we can go into about this Mac, and we have System Software 7.5, and we have our whopping 128 megabytes of memory. We'll make sure you can see that there. Yeah, so working pretty good. Let's see what else we can do here. Go into Control Panel. So I got the monitor. If you look here, we got colors. We only have 256. I thought with that video card maybe we'd get like thousands or something. I don't know. That should be fine with what we're using this for. But if any of you have any recommendations, again, for maybe a different video card to put in here, what else? I think it has to be like NuBus Apple video card. Give me a recommendation, or, you know, am I fine with this one? I haven't any problems with it yet. Everything's been looking fine. So I guess at this point, we'll just play a couple games. I don't have a ton of games for this machine. With this machine and the CPU speed and all that, we should be able to handle pretty much any of the monochrome games meant for the old, you know, monochrome all-in-one Macs. Should be able to play all of those without a problem. But, you know, start getting into those, you know, start getting into even like some early 90s titles, and it kind of bogs down. Slower stuff, simulation stuff like SimAnt and things like that should run really well. Maybe like SimCity even, but yeah, we'll take a look at Wolfenstein 3D, and doesn't run great on this machine. Well, the first game I wanted to run, which should run really well on this, is good old Macintosh version of Oregon Trail. I've actually never played the Macintosh version. I've only played the Apple II version. And I've even got the official discs and stuff, and disc 2 seems to work, but when I put in disc 1, it just says untitled, and it says it's a PC type disc, and there's nothing in it. So, unfortunately, it appears that the floppy disk 1, which I need to play the game, doesn't work. So that is unfortunate. I guess I'll have to save my Oregon Trail adventures for a little later on the Macintosh. Alright, so let's try another title here. I have the Fellowship of the Ring for Macintosh. Yes, you can use like a floppy emulator drive, like the floppy emu, and you can obviously load up disk images and things like that. But I'm just kind of grabbing physical disks I have around me. Of course, those have their own issues, as we've seen, but this one seems to come up, the Fellowship right there. So I think this is maybe a graphical text adventure. I don't know. Let's see if it runs. Let's go with part 1. And there we have Lord of the Rings with a weird block there, I think. Alright, well, it looks like there was like a screen that was hidden behind that here. So it looks like you can play it with pictures or text only. Of course, we're going to go with pictures since we're on the powerful Macintosh IIci. I'll just be Frodo. And then let's start the game. And, well, interesting. That doesn't look great. Maybe that would work better on like a smaller kind of monitor here. It looks like it's windowed a little bit. Since, you know, it's not taking up the full screen, maybe there's a way that we can adjust that. You are in a comfortable burrow with a round window and a green door to the east. And maybe we can hide. Okay, hide picture just gives it like a text adventure, but we want to see the picture. And is there anything? Okay, we've got action. Wonder if we can, if there's any. Okay. Alright, so yeah, this game is like a visual text adventure, but I don't see any options here to like make the window bigger or anything like that, unfortunately. Let's see, what happens if I hit OK? Well, it looks like it works fine, so that's a good thing. Oh, I waited too long. You wait. Pippin waits, Sam waits. Wait, now these have opened up. So now we have we can do some actions. I wonder, maybe can I kill Pippin? Kill Pippin. Kill him. Oh, I did! You attack Pippin. You make a valiant attempt to dispatch Pippin, but Pippin is on guard and the blow goes wide. Pippin attacks you, but the effort is wasted. Sam attacks Pippin. Why not? There must be a reason. Frodo's attacking Pippin. You know, of course Sam's gonna help him. Okay, interesting. I guess you can. A lot of games, I just think it's funny because a lot of games it might, you know, kind of say something like, why would you attack your friend? And it wouldn't let you. But I like how it actually let me try to kill Pippin. That's quite amusing. So anyways, let's try something a little more challenging for this machine. Alright, so let's take a look at Wolfenstein 3D. Now, the Macintosh version, I think it's a little bit different from the PC version. I think the visuals are a little bit better in some respects. The sounds are different. Things like that, but yeah, it does not run well on this machine. Let's give it a try here. No, I think it should start if we click that down there. And we even get a notice here. We get, I notice your Macintosh has a 68030 processor. Wolfenstein 3D may run slowly on this. Now, I found it doesn't run too bad when we're using like the smallest resolution, but let's continue. I don't know how much a 68040 would help this machine or this game. It may be one of those games that just kind of maybe just require or play best with a power PC. Sound isn't great because I've just got the internal speaker right now. There's not really room for speakers here. Maybe eventually I could get one of those little things that like it sits here and there's like 2 speakers. Maybe. If you want decent gameplay on a standard Mac IIci, you're actually going to need it to be that small. Alright, I zoomed in a little bit there, but yeah, this is still that small little window on the screen. So doesn't, I mean, it doesn't play too bad here. Let's see. Not used to the controls. As you can see, the visuals are a little bit different than than on the PC. Sounds are a little different. But yeah, it does okay. Thought that was, yeah, there we go. But I will up the res here, and then you'll see how it plays with just upping it a little bit more. Uh-oh, there's more guys coming. Come on. Alright, so if we go into options and screen size, so right now we're at 320 by 200. Don't know if you can see that real well here, but if we up it even just a little bit to 512 by 384, it will not run so great. That is a significant difference though for screen size. It does take up a good bit more of the monitor, but as you'll see here in a moment, it doesn't translate to better gameplay. So yeah, as you can see, it's pretty choppy at this resolution. I guess if you're real determined, but I would say it's pretty much, I mean, I would call this unplayable. I wouldn't play it like this. It's a little too choppy for me. Maybe when I was a kid, I was really desperate to play a game, you just wanted it to run, maybe you could get used to it. But yeah, there's the doggo. Oh, sorry, doggo. These controls. Yeah, it's just not great. So that was a look at my Macintosh IIci, a machine that at least for now is going to be probably my main machine for classic 68K based Mac games and gaming. So yeah, we didn't go too crazy with it. We've got the Rominator and the SD card for the hard drive, but other than that, we didn't do too crazy with upgrades or things like that. If you have any suggestions for this machine, or you have any stories, I love hearing stories and reading your comments on these old machines. Please let me know in the comment section. What did you think about this setup? What do you think about this machine? And I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.